Hi, you're watching Reddit Confessions, where secrets don't stay buried, and every story has a consequence. The front door didn't creak like usual when it opened. I made sure of that. She stepped inside quietly, probably expecting I'd be asleep, maybe even expecting a fight. But the silence that greeted her wasn't angry. It was surgical. Empty. Clean. No shoes by the door. No jacket on the hook. No scent of coffee lingering from a late-night brew. "Cal?" she called softly, unsure. Her voice echoed. That's when she finally noticed. The framed photo of our anniversary, gone. The keys to the truck she hated, gone. The shelf full of my books, my chargers, my ragged hoodie she used to sleep in when she missed me. All gone. That's the moment her phone buzzed. A message from me. 3 words. Check the fridge. She walked into the kitchen, her heels tapping on tile like they were intruding. She hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a note taped to the middle shelf. Just one sentence. "You went to remember your past. Now you'll have to live with it." She dropped the note. I'm sure of it. Because that's when she realized everything was real. No tantrum. No yelling. No smashed plates. Just precision. She never expected me to actually walk away. And if you're wondering what she did to deserve this, let's rewind. 3 days earlier, she left the house in that tight emerald dress, the one she used to save for our anniversaries. She told me she was heading to her ex's birthday party. "It's harmless," she said. "He invited a bunch of people." I didn't scream, didn't protest. I just stood there like a fool while she put on perfume and pretended I didn't exist. She turned as she left and said, "Don't wait up. It's in the hills. I might crash there." And she did. Oh, she really did. But that's not the part that broke me. What shattered me came the next morning, when she didn't even lie about it. The morning after she spent the night at her ex's house, I sat at the kitchen table, pretending to scroll through emails. My coffee had gone cold an hour ago. The clock ticked past 9 a.m., then 10:12, then 11:03. No text, no call, just silence. At 11:47, I heard her car pull into the driveway. I didn't stand up. I didn't even turn my head. The front door opened like nothing had happened, like she had just run to the store for eggs. She walked in humming. Humming. She stopped in the entryway when she saw me sitting there. "Oh, hey, you're up." I didn't answer, just stared at her. She was still in the same dress, heels in one hand, hair a mess, makeup smudged around the edges. I waited. I gave her the dignity of being the first to speak. She took a deep breath, then shrugged. "I didn't mean to stay over. It just got late. I figured it'd be stupid to drive home tired." That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just a flimsy half-truth tossed like crumbs to a bird. I asked quietly, "Did you sleep with him?" She rolled her eyes. "Are we really doing this?" "Yes," I said. "We really are." She looked at me for a long moment, and then just laughed. "Wow, you really are that insecure." It wasn't denial. It wasn't shock. It was mocking. Like I was a clingy teenager trying to read between the lines of a bad text message. "You disappeared into your spreadsheets for 2 months, she said. "Maybe if you paid attention to me once in a while." I stood up. Not fast. Not angry. Just done. I said, "You're not going to guilt me into this." "What is this?" she snapped. "You being dramatic again?" I walked past her without answering. I went upstairs, took my bag out of the closet, and finished packing. I had already moved most of my things the night before while she was playing memory games at her ex's party. I had found a quiet rental in the next town. Nothing fancy, just enough space to breathe without feeling like I was suffocating on perfume and denial. She followed me to the stairs, stunned now. "Wait, what are you doing? Are you seriously leaving?" "Calvin, what are you doing?" I looked at her then. Really looked at her. She didn't seem powerful anymore. She didn't look wild or free or even angry. She just looked scared. "You're not mad I stayed over," she whispered. "You're mad I didn't beg for forgiveness." I zipped my bag. "I'm not mad," I said. "I'm awake." And that was the day she realized this wasn't just a phase. This wasn't a cold shoulder. This was a man who had spent his last night waiting. And he would never wait again. By the time I stepped into the new place, my legs felt like they'd been walking for years, not from distance, but from everything I left behind with each footstep. The rental was small, quiet. No smell of perfume in the curtains. No framed photos reminding me of laughter that now felt forced in hindsight. Just silence. And for the first time in months, it didn't feel like punishment. It felt like peace. I didn't plan on sending anything to her right away. I thought maybe she'd call, Maybe she'd show up crying. Maybe something in her would shift. But for 2 full days, nothing. Not a single text. Just the occasional delivered on our message thread. No response. No missed calls. That silence confirmed what I needed to know. She didn't stay at her ex's place to punish me. She did it because she wanted to, and she assumed I'd still be here when she got back. On the 3rd morning, I went back to the house one last time. She was at work, according to the calendar stuck to the fridge. The house felt hollow. Not just because I'd taken my belongings, but because it was built on routines that no longer mattered. I walked upstairs, not out of curiosity, but to leave something behind. One thing. One final message. She had this habit of writing little affirmations on our bathroom mirror in dry erase marker. Don't forget to smile. Or big day, be bold. I used to love it. I used to respond sometimes, adding, I'm proud of you, or drawing silly faces. The mirror was blank now. It had been for months. I taped an envelope to it. Nothing dramatic. Just plain white. Inside was a photo. From last summer. We were on the coast. She was laughing at something I said, wearing a yellow sundress that blew wildly in the wind. I looked at that photo the night she went to Jason's party. Not out of nostalgia, but because it reminded me of who we used to be and who I kept pretending we still were. With the photo was a simple note, handwritten. If you ever wonder why I left, look at this and ask yourself when we stopped being these people. No accusations. No revenge. Just a mirror, a memory, and a message she couldn't ignore. I didn't slam the door when I left. I didn't want her to hear it echo in her mind like a threat. I wanted her to walk into that bathroom and see something she hadn't seen in months. Not her reflection, but the person she used to be, and the man who finally stopped chasing her ghost. Later that night, I got a notification on my phone. A single message from her. Why are you doing this? I didn't reply. Because if she had to ask, she wasn't ready for the answer. I thought the silence would bring clarity. I thought stepping away would give me space to grieve and maybe even forgive. But I was wrong. Because what came next wasn't peace. It was something darker. The kind of realization that twists your stomach and makes you question whether you ever knew the person you shared a bed with for 10 years. It started 2 days after I left. I was sitting on the old couch in my rental, the one I kept from my first apartment, when my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Just a single video file. No name. No caption. For a few seconds, I debated deleting it. I didn't want more pain. I didn't need more answers. But curiosity has a cruel way of slipping through cracks you thought were sealed. I tapped play. The footage was shaky. A party, clearly. Music in the background, loud voices, laughter. Then the camera settled. And I saw her, Delaney, sitting on Jason's lap. Not beside him. On him. Her arms around his neck. His hands sliding up her thigh like they hadn't missed a beat since college. She was laughing. That carefree, tipsy laugh she used to save for nights when we were alone and happy. And then she kissed him. Not a peck. Not a drunken accident. A kiss with history behind it. A kiss that said, I remember this. I missed this. I paused the video. My hands were trembling. I stared at the frozen image of her face pressed to his and wondered, had she already moved on before she left that night? Or was this her version of moving on? The senders still hadn't identified themselves. I texted back. Who are you? No response. Just a silent reminder that someone out there wanted me to know the truth she hadn't dared to say. For a while I just sat there, the video still open, repeating in my head. I'd been angry before. Hurt, yes. But this felt different. This wasn't carelessness. It was intent. She hadn't just stayed over. She'd reclaimed something. And the worst part? She hadn't even tried to hide it. Maybe because she thought I'd never find out. Or maybe because she didn't care if I did. I remember pacing the room, thinking, was I ever enough for her? Or was I always just the safe option? The fallback guy when Jason didn't want her anymore? The next morning, I did something I never thought I'd do. I sent her the video. No message. No explanation. Just the file. I wanted her to know I knew. And I wanted to see what she'd do when the mask finally cracked. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. Her name lit up the screen. I didn't answer. Let her sit in that silence for once. Let her hear what it sounds like when someone you betrayed chooses themselves over closure. I wasn't angry anymore. I was finished. She showed up at my rental 2 days later. No warning, no text, just a sharp knock on the door at 9:22 a.m. I saw her through the peephole, hair tied up in a rushed bun, face pale, eyes puffed like she hadn't slept. She stood there holding her phone, like she wanted to use it as a shield, or maybe a weapon. I didn't open the door right away. I just watched her. For a second, I actually wondered if she'd cry, if she'd break down and tell me it was a mistake, that she got caught in a moment, that it didn't mean anything. I could have forgiven stupidity, but not strategy. When I finally opened the door, I didn't say anything. I just stood there. She pushed past me like she still had the right to, like she still belonged in my space. "You weren't supposed to see that," she said, almost whispering. That was her opening line. Not "I'm sorry." Not "let me explain." Just "you weren't supposed to see that." I closed the door behind her, leaned against the wall, and crossed my arms. But I did. She didn't sit. Just stood in the middle of my living room, turning in circles like she couldn't decide which lie to commit to. "It wasn't about him," she finally said. "It was about you. About us. About how distant you've been." That old song again. "I kissed my ex because you didn't ask how my presentation went last month. I slept at his house because you work late. I flirted with him at a party because I feel invisible." Do people even hear themselves when they speak like that? "I didn't go there planning to stay the night," she continued. "I was mad. I wanted to remind you that I still matter. I didn't think." "No," I interrupted. "You didn't think. You felt. And you acted. And now you're here, trying to repaint the fire after the building's gone." She looked at me like she couldn't believe I was being this direct, like I was supposed to break down or beg or negotiate. "I was hurting too," she said suddenly, voice trembling. "Do you think I didn't notice you pulling away? Do you think I wanted to end up at a party with someone who used to break my heart for sport?" That one stung. Because it was true. Jason had cheated on her back in college. Left her crying on my shoulder the night she found out. I remember that night. She called me, not her sister, not her best friend. Me. Because I was the safe one. The steady one. And now, full circle, she ran back to the man who once ruined her. Just to prove she still could. "What do you want from me, Delaney?" I finally asked. Forgiveness? Sympathy? A second chance? She didn't answer. Because she didn't know. Because maybe, deep down, she wasn't sorry for what she did. She was just sorry it didn't break me like she hoped. She finally sat down. And for the first time in years, she looked like someone who had no idea what she was doing. Not calculating. Not smug. Just lost. "I thought you'd be angrier," she said quietly. I nodded. I was. But then I realized, you can't betray someone you've already stopped loving. She looked up at me, eyes wide, and I saw something flicker in her. Regret. Maybe. Or shame. But it was too late. And we both knew it. The strange thing about heartbreak is that it doesn't always arrive in chaos. Sometimes it slips in quietly while you're brushing your teeth, or pouring cereal, or sitting across from the person who once promised they'd never hurt you. Delaney sat on the edge of the couch that morning like she was afraid it might vanish beneath her. Her confidence was gone. Her words had run dry. And for once, she looked like she didn't know what came next. But I did. I had already made my decision, long before she showed up. Before the video, before the silence, before the kiss that told me everything I needed to know. It wasn't rage that pushed me away. It was clarity. The kind that comes only after you've been quietly drowning for years without even realizing you were underwater. I walked into the next room, grabbed the small black box I had kept hidden in the back of my desk drawer, and returned. She looked up, confused. "What's that?" she asked. I didn't answer. I just set it on the coffee table, opened the lid, and pushed it toward her. Inside was the digital voice recorder I had once bought for interviews at work. But I'd used it only once. To record a conversation I wasn't supposed to hear. I didn't plan it. I swear I didn't. It had been weeks ago, maybe even months, when I was in the garage fixing the dryer. I'd left the recorder on accidentally, or maybe fate did. Later that night, when I realized it had been running, I almost deleted the file. But curiosity won. What I heard made me sick. Delaney on the phone with her friend Liz. Her exact words, burned into my memory. "Jason still looks good. I swear if I wanted to, I could have him back. Calvin doesn't even notice me anymore. I'm practically a roommate with a ring." Liz laughed and said something I couldn't make out. Then Delaney replied, "No, seriously, if Calvin doesn't get it together soon, I'm going to give myself permission to remember what being wanted felt like." Permission. She gave herself permission. She didn't stumble into that night. She didn't accidentally cross a line. She planned her exit. She wrote the script. And she delivered it. Delaney picked up the recorder from the box and stared at it, as if touching it would burn her. She didn't hit play. She didn't need to. She knew what was on it. Her lips parted, then closed, then parted again. But nothing came out. You told me you didn't plan to stay, I said. But you gave yourself permission to. She finally met my eyes. You were already gone. No, I said, and I kept my voice level. I was just quiet. You mistook silence for absence. That's on you. There was a long, aching pause. Then she did something I never expected. She stood up, slipped the recorder back into the box, and said softly, I guess I really don't know who you are anymore. I nodded. That's funny, because I finally do. She walked to the door slowly, like gravity had gotten heavier just for her. She turned the knob, paused, then looked back. I hope you find what you're looking for, she whispered. I already did, I said. And she left. No slamming, no drama, just the quiet sound of someone who had finally run out of excuses. I thought that was the end of it. After Delaney left my place, I assumed we'd drift into the kind of silence that never finds closure. I expected her to retreat into her new life, or back to Jason, or wherever it was she'd find someone who could feed her ego better than I ever could. And honestly, I was okay with that. I wasn't looking for revenge. I didn't need apologies. I just wanted peace. But the universe had one more truth to throw in my face. It happened on a Tuesday morning. I was halfway through a terrible cup of gas station coffee, sitting in the parking lot outside the office, when I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but something in me said answer it. Hello, I said, bracing for spam or a debt collector. But the voice on the other end was trembling. Female. Familiar, but not quite. Calvin? It's Liz, Delaney's friend. I blinked. Okay. She exhaled hard, like she had to force herself to keep going. I shouldn't be doing this. She'd hate me if she knew. But I heard what happened, and I saw the look on her face after she left your place. She's unraveling, Calvin. I stayed quiet. She told you everything, didn't she? About Jason? I said nothing. Just let the silence work its weight. But Liz wasn't calling to test me. She was calling to confess. Delaney didn't just go to that party to spite you, she said quickly. She planned it with Jason. I told her it was stupid. I told her it would backfire. But she wanted you to break. She wanted to prove a point. My grip on the steering wheel tightened. She told Jason you two were practically separated. She made it sound like you didn't care anymore, that you barely talked, that you hadn't touched her in months. I closed my eyes. That part, oddly, didn't surprise me. We had drifted, yes, but I never thought she'd rewrite the story to justify betraying me. I only found out the full truth later, Liz continued. She admitted it after a few drinks last week. She said she wanted to see what you'd do if she crossed a line, whether you'd fight for her or finally give up. She wanted to test me? I asked, my voice sharper than I expected. Yes, Liz said, but she never thought you'd actually leave. She thought you'd yell, or cry, or beg her to stay. She thought it would wake you up. I let out a dry laugh. It did. There was a long pause. Then Liz said something that chilled me in a way even the video hadn't. She told Jason it wasn't serious, but they slept together, Calvin. That night, she lied to both of you. And just like that, the final piece clicked into place. It was never about feeling neglected. It was about power. She wanted to see how far she could push before I snapped. She wanted to feel wanted, admired, chased. And when she realized I wouldn't play her game, she didn't just lose me. She lost control. I thought you deserved to know, Liz whispered. I'm sorry. I ended the call without saying goodbye. Not out of rudeness. I just didn't have any words left. My hands were shaking. Not from heartbreak. Not from betrayal. But from relief. Because I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. I had been betrayed by someone who carefully laid the trap, walked into it herself, and then tried to act like the victim when it blew up in her face. And now I knew the whole truth. What I did next wasn't loud, but it left a scar she'll feel for years. I didn't rush it. I gave myself time to feel the betrayal, time to grieve the version of us I thought was real, and most importantly, time to decide how I wanted this story to end. Not with shouting, not with payback, but with clarity, dignity, and a door she couldn't close once it swung open. 2 weeks after that call from Liz, I mailed Delaney a box. No note, no explanation, just 3 things inside. The first was her old college hoodie, the one she used to wear when she'd curl up next to me after long days and say, "Don't let me fall asleep unless you're right here." I figured she might want it now that Jason was back in the picture. The second was the framed wedding photo she left behind. We were smiling, wind in our hair, her eyes locked on mine like I was the only thing that mattered in the world. I didn't smash it. I didn't burn it. I just returned it. It belonged to her version of us, not mine anymore. The last thing in the box was a single sheet of paper. On it, I had printed a quote she once wrote on our bathroom mirror years ago, long before things fell apart. "You can't grow in a place where you're constantly shrinking." Underneath, I'd written, "So I left. I hope someday you do too." I don't know if she cried. I don't know if she screamed, or laughed, or tore it up. And honestly, I don't care. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't living in her reactions. I was living in my own peace. The apartment feels bigger now. Not because of space, but because of possibility. I started reading again, running again, reaching out to old friends I let drift away while trying to hold on to someone who never planned to stay. And you know what? I'm smiling again. Not forced, not polite. The kind that sneaks up on you when you're doing something simple, like drinking coffee in the morning and realizing your heart isn't heavy anymore. This wasn't the ending I wanted, but it became the beginning I needed. Have you ever made a difficult decision that led to unexpected freedom? Share it in the comments. And while you're at it, tell us one powerful moment in history that reminds you of reclaiming strength after betrayal. Thanks for watching Reddit Confessions. If this story meant something to you, subscribe for more real stories that remind us we're not alone.